First contact at the edge of nothing, the Void Seeker drifted through the endless black of space, its hull reflecting the distant light of a dying star. Captain Thaxos of the Zephyrian Empire stood before the main viewport, his forearms crossed, behind his back as he studied the readings on his tactical display. The planet below them was supposed to be empty, a dead rock on the edge of known space. But the sensors were telling a different story. "Captain," called out Navigator Crix from her station, her voice carrying the typical Zephyrian tone of controlled efficiency. "We're detecting artificial structures on the surface. Energy signatures suggest active settlements." Thaxos turned, his golden eyes narrowing. The Zephyrian Empire had mapped this sector decades ago. No registered colonies existed. Here, no terraforming permits had been issued. This was the forgotten edge of space, where nothing of value was supposed to exist. "Identification of the settlers?" he asked, moving to the central command console. "Unknown, Captain. The technology appears ... primitive. But there are definitely life signs, hundreds of them." Thaxos felt a familiar stirring of curiosity. In his 40 years of service to the Empire, he had encountered many lost colonies, forgotten outposts, and desperate survivors. Most were eager for rescue, grateful for contact with the wider galaxy. Some were hostile, but in predictable ways. All were manageable. "Prepare a standard first contact protocol," he ordered. "Deploy scanning drones. I want to know what we're dealing with before we make contact." The drones launched silently from the Void Seeker's bay, their sleek forms cutting through the atmosphere toward the planet's surface. The readings they sent back were puzzling. The settlement was built into the side of a mountain with what appeared to be extensive underground networks. The architecture was functional but crude, built from local materials and salvaged technology. "Captain," Communications Officer Vaughn reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the surface. Put it through." The voice that came through the speakers was human, speaking in the common galactic tongue with a slight accent. "Unidentified vessel. This is settlement leader Marcus Chen of New Haven Colony. State your business in our airspace." Thaxos raised an eyebrow. The tone was neither fearful nor welcoming. It was ... cautious, professional, as if the speaker was used to dealing with unexpected visitors. "This is Captain Thaxos of the Zephyrian Empire vessel Voidseeker. We were unaware of any authorized settlements in this sector. We request permission to land and establish formal contact." There was a long pause before the response came. "Permission granted. Landing coordinates are being transmitted now. Be advised, Captain, that our defensive systems are active. Any aggressive action will be met with appropriate response." The words sent a chill through the bridge crew. Defensive systems. What kind of defensive systems could a forgotten human colony possibly have? As the Void Seeker descended through the atmosphere, Thaxos studied the landscape below. The planet was harsh, with jagged mountains and deep valleys carved by ancient rivers. The colony was positioned strategically, with clear sight lines in all directions and natural barriers protecting its flanks. Whoever had chosen this location understood military tactics. The landing pad was crude but functional, carved directly into the mountainside. As the ship touched down, Thaxos could see figures moving in the shadows of the settlement. They weren't running in panic or curiosity. They were taking positions. "Captain, Security Chief," Drac reported, his voice tense. "I'm reading multiple weapon signatures around the landing area. They're not pointing at us, but they're ready." Thaxos nodded grimly. This was not going to be a routine first contact. The airlock cycled open, and Captain Thaxos stepped onto the surface of Kepler-4 for to see, followed by his standard contact team. The air was thin but breathable, with a metallic taste that suggested heavy mineral content. The temperature was cold, just above freezing. A figure approached from the settlement entrance. The man was tall and lean, with graying hair and eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. He wore simple clothes made from what appeared to be woven plant fibers, but his bearing was unmistakably that of a military officer. "Captain Thaxos," the man said, extending his hand in the human greeting gesture. "I'm Marcus Chen. Welcome to New Haven." Thaxos accepted the handshake, noting the calluses on Chen's hands and the subtle scars on his arms. This was not a man who had lived an easy life. "Mr. Chen," Thaxos replied, "I must admit, we're surprised to find a human settlement this far from registered space. How long have you been here?" Chun's smile was thin. 53 years, 4 months, and 16 days. Not that anyone's counting. The precision of the answer was unsettling. Thaxos glanced around the settlement, noting the watching faces in the shadows. Everyone he could see was alert, ready. These weren't desperate survivors. They were a community that had learned to be self-sufficient. "We've had no contact with Earth or any human authority for that entire time," Chen continued. "We've learned to take care of ourselves." A younger woman emerged from the settlement, and Thaxos immediately recognized the family resemblance. She had Chun's sharp eyes and controlled movements, but there was something else in her expression. A kind of calculating intelligence that made the Zephyrian captain uncomfortable. "This is my daughter, Alina," Chen said. "She handles our external security." Alina nodded politely but said nothing. Her gaze swept over the Zephyrian landing party, and Thaxos had the distinct feeling that she was cataloging weapons, equipment, and potential threats. "Perhaps we could discuss your situation in more detail," Thaxos suggested. "The Empire has protocols for reconnecting lost colonies with the wider galaxy." Chen's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. "The Empire, yes. We've heard stories about the Zephyrian Empire, expanding territories, incorporating new worlds, bringing order to the galaxy." There was something in his tone that made Thaxos wary. "The Empire offers protection, trade opportunities, and technological advancement to all member worlds." For a price, Alina spoke for the first time, her voice carrying an edge of steel. "All civilizations contribute according to their capabilities," Thaxos replied carefully. "It's how we maintain peace and prosperity across hundreds of worlds." Chen gestured toward the settlement. "Would you like to see what we've built here, Captain? I think you might find it educational." The settlement was more extensive than it had appeared from orbit. The visible structures were just the tip of an iceberg. Tunnels carved into the mountain led to workshops, living quarters, and storage facilities. The engineering was impressive, if crude. Everything was built to last, to function, to serve multiple purposes. "We learned early that nothing could be wasted," Chen explained as they walked through the main corridor. "Every scrap of metal, every piece of equipment, every skill had to be maximized." They passed a workshop where colonists were manufacturing tools and equipment. The technology was a fascinating blend of salvaged components and innovative solutions. Thaxos recognized some of the base materials. They were from a crashed ship, probably decades old, but the colonists had repurposed them in ways that were both elegant and efficient. Impressive, Thaxos admitted. But surely you would benefit from access to modern technology, proper manufacturing equipment, medical facilities, ... Double quotes. Alina stepped forward. Captain, what makes you think we need those things? Before Thaxos could answer, an alarm began to sound. The colonists around them moved with practiced efficiency, not panicking but clearly responding to a drill they had performed many times before. What's happening? Thaxos asked. Chen's expression had hardened. Long-range sensors have detected incoming ships, not friendly ones. Alina was already moving toward what appeared to be a command center. 3 vessels, heavy cruiser class. Shadowmoor collective markings. The name sent a chill through Thaxos. The Shadowmoor Collective was a rogue faction that had been raiding the outer territories for years. They were known for their brutality and their practice of enslaving entire populations. How long until they arrive? Chen asked. 18 hours, Alina replied, her fingers flying over a control panel that looked like it had been built from spare parts but functioned with remarkable precision. Thaxos felt a surge of protective instinct. We need to evacuate your people immediately. The Voidseeker can carry perhaps 100 passengers. Chen looked at him with something that might have been amusement. Captain, we have 347 people in this settlement, and we're not going anywhere. You can't possibly defend against a Shadowmoor raiding fleet, Thaxos protested. They have weapons that can level cities. Alina looked up from her console, and for the first time, she was smiling. But it wasn't a pleasant expression. Captain, I think you misunderstand our situation. We're not the ones who need defending. The statement hung in the air like a challenge. Thaxos looked around the command center, noting the efficiency of the operation, the calm confidence of the colonists, the sophisticated sensor arrays that shouldn't exist in a settlement this remote. Mr. Chen, he said carefully, exactly what kind of colony is this? Chun's smile matched his daughter's, the kind that's been preparing for this moment for 53 years, the kind that's tired of being overlooked, underestimated, and forgotten. He gestured toward a large display that showed the approaching Shadowmoor ships. Captain, would you like to see what humans can accomplish when they have nothing left to lose and everything to prove? Thaxos felt the first stirring of real unease. The colonists weren't acting like victims or refugees. They were acting like predators who had just spotted their prey. I think, Chen continued, it's time we showed the galaxy that Earth's children are still very much alive, and we've learned some new tricks. As if on cue, the lights in the command center dimmed, and new displays came online. Thaxos stared, in shock as the true scope of the settlement revealed itself. The visible structures were indeed just the beginning. The entire mountain was honeycombed with tunnels, chambers, and installations. Weapon emplacements that had been hidden from orbital scans powered up. Communication arrays that could reach across the galaxy activated. Alina turned to face him, and in her eyes, Thaxos saw something he had never expected to see in a human. The calm, calculating patience of an apex predator. Welcome to New Haven, Captain, she said. The question is, are you here to help us, or are you just another problem we need to solve? The Voidseeker suddenly felt very small and very vulnerable on the landing pad outside, and Captain Thaxos realized that his understanding of human capabilities might have been severely limited. The colonists weren't waiting for rescue, they were waiting for war, and they were ready. When predators become prey, the transformation of New Haven colony was unlike anything Captain Thaxos had witnessed in 4 decades of space travel. Within minutes of the alarm, the settlement had evolved from a humble mountain outpost into a military installation that would make Imperial engineers weep with envy. Alina Chen stood before a wall of displays that had materialized from what appeared to be solid rock. Her fingers danced across control surfaces that responded to her touch with precision that suggested years of practice. Around her, colonists moved with the fluid efficiency of a well-oiled machine, each person knowing exactly what their role was in the greater plan. "Captain," Elena said, without turning around, "I need to know where your loyalties lie. Are you with the empire that abandoned us, or are you with the humans who refused to die?" Thaxos watched as weapon systems that had been completely invisible to his ship's sensors rose from hidden positions throughout the mountain. Missile arrays, energy cannons, and defensive shields that incorporated technology he didn't recognize. The colonists hadn't just survived, they had thrived, innovated, and prepared. "How?" he asked simply. Marcus Chen joined them at the command center, his casual demeanor replaced by the bearing of a military commander. "When you're cut off from supply lines, spare parts, and backup, you learn to make do with what you have. More importantly, you learn to think differently." Alina pulled up a three-dimensional map of the system. "The Shadowmoor Collective has been raiding this sector for 15 years. They hit the outer colonies, take what they want, and leave nothing but debris. We've been tracking their movements, learning their patterns." "You've been hunting them," Thaxos realized. "We've been studying them," Chen corrected. "There's a difference. A hunter goes after prey. We've been preparing for the day when the prey comes to us." The implications of that statement settled over Thaxos like a cold weight. The colonists hadn't just been defending themselves. They had been laying a trap, and the Shadowmoor Collective was about to walk into it. "The raiding ships will arrive in 17 hours, Elena continued. 3 heavy cruisers, standard Shadowmoor configuration. They'll expect to find a helpless settlement, easy pickings. Instead, they're going to find something that will redefine their understanding of human capabilities." Thaxos looked around the command center, noting the mix of salvaged technology and completely original innovations. "Your people built all of this." "Our people built this," Chen emphasized. "Engineers, scientists, farmers, teachers, children, everyone contributed, everyone learned, everyone adapted." A young man approached the command station, his movements quick and confident. "Alina, the deep sensors are picking up something else. Long-range scan shows Imperial patrol ships, about 6 hours behind the Shadowmoor fleet." Elena's expression tightened. "How many?" 2 destroyers and a cruiser. "They're maintaining standard patrol formation." Thaxos felt a chill. That's a standard response to distress calls. If they detected the Shadowmoor ships, they'll arrive just in time to pick up the pieces, Chen finished. "Very convenient." The accusation hung in the air like a weapon. Thaxos realized that the colonists suspected the Empire of using them as bait, allowing the Shadowmoor to attack and then arriving to claim the territory afterward. "That's not how the Empire operates." Thaxos protested, but even as he said it, he wondered if it was true. Alina turned to face him directly. "Captain, in 53 years, not one Imperial ship has visited this system. Not one message has been sent. Not one supply drop has been authorized. But now, on the day that 3 Shadowmoor raiders arrive, you just happen to be here." The logic was devastating. Thaxos had been dispatched to this system because of routine survey protocols. But now he wondered if there had been intelligence about the incoming raiders. "I need to contact my ship," he said. "Communications are locked down." Alina replied. Nothing goes in or out until this is resolved. Chen gestured toward a bank of monitors showing the approaching Shadowmoor ships. Captain, you have a choice. You can be part of the solution, or you can be part of the problem. But you can't be neutral. Thaxos studied the displays, noting the sophisticated tracking systems and the comprehensive battle plans that were already being implemented. The colonists had turned their entire settlement into a fortress, but more than that, they had turned it into a weapon. "What do you need from me?" he asked. Alina smiled, and this time it was genuinely warm. "Your ship has Imperial transponders. The Shadowmoor won't attack immediately if they think you're here on official business. You want me to be a decoy. I want you to be a survivor," Chen corrected. "Because if we fail, you'll be the only one who can tell the galaxy what really happened here." The next 16 hours passed in a blur of activity. Thaxos was given access to systems and facilities that redefined his understanding of human ingenuity. The colonists had not only survived in isolation, they had evolved. Their technology was different from anything he had seen, built from necessity, and refined through practical application. In the engineering sections, he watched colonists manufacture ammunition using materials extracted from the mountain itself. The fabrication systems were crude but incredibly efficient, producing exactly what was needed with minimal waste. The medical facilities were even more impressive. The colonists had learned to treat injuries and illnesses using locally available resources, developing techniques that were both innovative and effective. They had even learned to enhance human capabilities through careful genetic therapy and cybernetic augmentation. We didn't have the luxury of importing solutions, explained Dr. Sarah Martinez, the settlement's chief medical officer. We had to create our own. And when you're creating from scratch, you're not limited by existing assumptions. But it was the children who truly amazed Thaxos. Unlike the frightened refugees he had expected, these young humans were confident, skilled, and capable. They had been raised in a society that valued adaptability, innovation, and community above all else. "We don't just teach them facts," explained teacher Maria Santos. "We teach them to think, to problem solve, to work together. Every child knows how to fight, how to build, how to survive. But more importantly, they know how to hope." As the Shadowmoor ships entered the system, Thaxos found himself in the command center alongside Alina and Marcus Chen. The colonists had offered him a choice. He could remain in the command center and observe, or he could return to his ship and play his role as unwitting bait. "I'll stay," he decided. "My crew can handle the deception." Alina nodded approvingly. "Good, because you're about to see something that will change how you think about humanity." The Shadowmoor ships approached the planet in standard raiding formation, their hulls bristling with weapons designed for planetary bombardment. They were large, crude, and powerful, built for intimidation and destruction rather than elegance or efficiency. "Incoming transmission," reported communications. "Officer Park." The voice that came through the speakers was harsh and guttural, speaking in the common tongue with a thick accent. "Imperial vessel, this is Raid Commander Gorth of the Shadowmoor Collective. You will withdraw immediately or be destroyed." Thaxos activated his communication system. "This is Captain Thaxos of the Void Seeker. We are conducting a routine survey. Mission: we have no hostile intent." "You have 10 minutes to clear the system," Gorth replied. "After that, we will consider you a target." Alina watched the tactical display as the Shadowmoor ships moved into position. They're following their standard pattern. 2 ships will establish orbital bombardment positions, while the third lands to collect slaves and resources. How do you know their tactics so well? Thaxos asked. Because we've been watching them for 15 years, Chen replied. Every raid, every attack, every pattern. We know how they think, how they operate, how they die. The first phase of the battle began with the Shadowmoor ships attempting to establish orbital superiority. What they discovered was that the colonists had turned the entire planet into a defensive network. Hidden installations throughout the mountain. Rangers opened fire simultaneously, creating a web of energy beams and projectiles that no ship could survive. The lead Shadowmoor cruiser was destroyed in the first 30 seconds, its hull torn apart by weapons that shouldn't exist on a primitive colony world. The second ship managed to deploy its shields, but the colonists had anticipated that as well. The weapons striking the shields were specifically designed to overload Shadowmoor defensive systems. How is this possible? Thaxos breathed, watching the tactical display. Humans don't just adapt, Alina explained, her fingers flying over the control systems. We evolve. We take what we have and make it into what we need. The third Shadowmoor ship attempted to retreat, but the colonists had prepared for that as well. Hidden satellites throughout the system activated, creating a sensor network that could track any ship trying to escape. More importantly, they had developed weapons that could reach across the system to strike fleeing targets. The battle was over in less than an hour. 3 Shadowmoor cruisers, ships that had terrorized the outer colonies for years, had been destroyed by a settlement that wasn't even supposed to exist. Captain, Alina said, turning to Thaxos, I think it's time we had a conversation with those Imperial ships. The Imperial patrol fleet arrived 6 hours later, expecting to find wreckage and survivors. Instead, they found the Void Seeker and a very different New Haven colony than the one described in their briefings. Commander Vex of the Imperial destroyer Iron Resolve was a career military officer who had seen combat across the galaxy. But when he materialized in the New Haven command center via holographic projection, his expression was one of complete bewilderment. Captain Thaxos, he said, our sensors are detecting debris from 3 Shadowmoor cruisers. What happened here? Thaxos looked at Alina and Marcus Chen, then back at the holographic commander. Sir, I believe we need to revise our understanding of human capabilities. Alina stepped forward, her presence commanding even through the holographic interface. Commander Vex, I am Alina Chen, military coordinator for New Haven Colony. We have a proposition for the Empire. What kind of proposition? The kind that recognizes that humanity has evolved beyond your expectations, Chen replied. We've spent 53 years developing technologies, tactics, and capabilities that your empire needs, but we're not interested in being absorbed or controlled. Commander Vex's expression hardened. The empire doesn't negotiate with unregistered colonies. Then the Empire is going to miss out on the most significant advancement in human development in centuries. Alina replied calmly, because whether you recognize us or not, we're here, we're strong, and we're not going anywhere. Thaxos watched the exchange with growing understanding. The colonists weren't asking for rescue or recognition. They were announcing their arrival on the galactic stage as equals, not subjects. What do you want? Commander Vex asked. Partnership, Marcus Chen replied. We'll share our innovations, our defensive capabilities, our knowledge of the outer territories. In exchange, the Empire acknowledges New Haven as an independent ally, not a subject world. The silence stretched for long moments. Finally, Commander Vex spoke. I'll need to relay this to Imperial Command. Of course, Alina said. But Commander, I should mention that we've been monitoring Imperial communications for some time. We know about the Shadowmoor raids, the planned responses, the territorial expansion protocols. We know exactly what the Empire's intentions were. For this system, the threat was subtle but clear. The colonists had information that could embarrass the Empire, and they were prepared to use it. I'll send your message, Commander Vex said stiffly, and the hologram flickered out. As the connection ended, Thaxos looked around the command center with new eyes. The colonists had done more than survive. They had created something entirely new, a hybrid of human adaptability and technological innovation that was genuinely unprecedented. Captain, Alina said, I have a question for you. When you return to the Empire, what will you tell them about us? Thaxos considered the question carefully. I'll tell them the truth, that humanity is far more resilient and capable than anyone imagined, that isolation didn't weaken you, it strengthened you, and that the Empire would be wise to treat New Haven as an ally rather than a conquest. Marcus Chen extended his hand. Again, and this time Thaxos accepted it as an equal. Welcome to the future, Captain, where humans don't just survive, they thrive. As Thaxos prepared to depart, he realized that his mission had changed everything. He had come to catalogue a forgotten colony and instead had discovered a new form of human civilization. The colonists of New Haven had proven that humanity's greatest strength wasn't technology or weapons, but the ability to adapt, evolve, and overcome any challenge. The galaxy was about to learn that Earth's children were still very much alive, and they had become something magnificent.